These are some of the more than 1,400 protests that took place this weekend, protesting the actions of the Trump administration. I mean, this is me showing you 20 of them all at once. I could show you 20 at once for this entire hour, and we still wouldn't get through all of them. If you follow me on Blue Sky, I posted footage from hundreds of different protests that all took place this weekend on Saturday. But just looking at this 20, let me tell you what you're looking at here. Starting at the top, going left to right, and then top to bottom. Upper left-hand corner, that's Atlanta, Georgia. Police estimated at least 20,000 people turned out in Atlanta, Georgia. Los Angeles, where the LA Times said the number was easily in the tens of thousands. The crowd may have reached 100,000 in Los Angeles alone. Another huge one in Seattle. Minimum estimates there, maybe 14,000 people. But just keep going. Huntsville, Alabama, Portland, Oregon, Davenport, Iowa, Charlotte, North Carolina, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Lansing, Michigan, Palm Beach, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona had a huge one. Providence, Rhode Island, Salt Lake City, Utah was huge. Austin, Texas, Buffalo, New York, Columbia, South Carolina, Indianapolis, Indiana was massive. Sacramento, California, another huge one. Detroit, Michigan, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I mean, that's 20 of, again, more than 1,400. Here's 20 more. Again, left to right, top to bottom. Upper left-hand corner, that's Baltimore, Maryland. Then go left to right, across the top, and then we'll go down. Baltimore, Maryland is the upper left, then Pittsburgh, PA, Tampa Bay, Florida, Helena, Montana, Rapid City, South Dakota. Washington, D.C., the crowd was estimated at 100,000 people plus. Chicago, Illinois is next to D.C. there. The crowd estimate there was even larger than it was in Washington. Denver, Colorado, Tulsa, Oklahoma, New York City, where it was said to be easily 100,000 people, Honolulu, Hawaii, Boston, Massachusetts. Local press reports also cited nearly 100,000 people on Boston Common. And I'll tell you, the letters to the editor page today at the Boston Globe is full of people outraged that the Globe didn't give the event better coverage, given how huge it was in Boston. Then we've got Dallas, Texas, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Hartford, Connecticut, St. Paul, Minnesota. That was a massive turnout at St. Paul, Minnesota, at the state capitol. And then the last two there, Savannah, Georgia, and Cincinnati, Ohio. It was cold and rainy enough in Joplin, Missouri, that people put their signs in plastic bags. And if they didn't bring their mittens, they put their socks on their hands to try to keep warm while they held their signs. It rained like the dickens as well in northeast Louisiana, but that wasn't enough to keep people at home. They just held their umbrellas and their signs. In Terre Haute, Indiana, people just made space for all the umbrellas and smiled through it. They hung tough through the rain. In deep red Naples, Florida, organizers there say they had 7,000 people turn out in Naples, Florida. And yeah, that's good weather, so I know, but that's also a county that went for Trump by 33 points in November. And they had 7,000 people turn out on Saturday. Detroit, Michigan, when people came out, they waved across the river to Windsor, Ontario, where protesting Canadians waved right back. People protested in Dillingham, Alaska, on Bristol Bay. People protested at the end of the Iditarod sled dog race in Nome, Alaska. People woke up there Saturday morning to a balmy 0 degrees Fahrenheit, but still, people got out in Nome, Alaska to go say their piece. Look at the people turning out in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. Look at the people turning out in El Paso, Texas. In Pittsfield, Massachusetts, 2,000 people turned out in the drenching rain. Green Bay, Wisconsin had a really big crowd. Look at that. Look at Statesboro, Georgia. So many people turning out in so many red states. Look at this is Gulfport, Mississippi. Gulfport, Mississippi, they marched with a big Trump sucks banner. Helena, Montana had a really big crowd. So did Knoxville, Tennessee. So did Northwoods, Wisconsin. I don't know if you watched the show on Friday night, but you might remember we had this group of older ladies in New Jersey. It's just a friend group in New Jersey who sent us pictures on Friday of them getting ready to protest this weekend. Again, this is a friend group for which the average age is 90. I've got two updates for you on that. First of all, they absolutely did get out and protest this weekend. Again, average age 90 in this group. You see some of them with their wheelchairs and or at least, excuse me, their walkers there. But also, I had guessed on Friday's show that the lady who was making the Dump Trump sign, see on the back of the table there? On the back on the right, I had guessed when we showed this picture on Friday night that the lady making the Dump Trump sign with the legs sticking out of the trash can, I had guessed she must have been an artist or an art teacher. Turns out I was right. She is a retired art teacher. And she, in fact, got out there this weekend with gusto.
I am here to protest Trump's programs. They are hurting us. They are hurting our children. And before long, they will hurt the country. So we have to dump Trump.
You know, the thing I most want to be when I grow up is an old person. And boy, am I getting there fast. But there were a lot of people out there this weekend who are beating me to it. And it was one of the most inspiring things about everything you saw this weekend. On the left side of your screen here, that's Montrose, Colorado. Hands off, one depression was enough. On the right side of your screen, that's Madison, Wisconsin. We 100-year-olds see no future with Trump.
Effectively a regressive tax, meaning the less money you have, the harder you get hit. Even after Trump's reversal, the tariffs on countries, including Brazil and Colombia, remain unchanged. And what that basically means is that the two biggest producers of U.S. coffee, Brazil and Colombia, your daily cups, if you're me, I should say, will most likely be getting more expensive because their tariffs on them remain in place. And the disruption could also make holiday shopping difficult. I know it's a while away, but here's what one toy company CEO told the Today Show on Thursday.
80% of the toys will be twice as expensive this Christmas as they were last Christmas. There'll likely, in particular with toys, be a shortage of toys this Christmas. I mean, even a short-term disruption will upset the flow of goods.
Merry Christmas, everyone. There are fewer toys and they are more expensive. Keep in mind, all of this happened on the same week, during the same week, when House Republicans passed a budget that could also include massive cuts to Medicaid. So they're making everything from healthcare to holiday toys more expensive for most Americans. And when Trump says, which he keeps saying, it's a, quote, great time to buy, that was his tweet, you have to ask yourself, great time for who exactly? Not most people. Now, the only silver lining here, if you could call it that, is that this is all being done in the light of day. Billionaires yucking it up in the Oval Office about how much money Donald Trump made them, billionaires bragging about buying access to the White House, and the cost of living going up for everyone else, which people are living every day. Turns out people are taking notice, a lot of people, of course they are. Millions have turned out at protests, shown up at town halls and big rallies to demonstrate against what we've seen from this White House. And yesterday, Bernie Sanders and AOC held their latest Fight Oligarchy event, this one in Los Angeles. They said 36,000 people turned out for this rally. They also said it's the biggest crowd either of them have ever spoken to. And yeah, Bernie's message has kind of never been more relevant than it is right now.
I invite the president to come to LA. Tell the people here why you think it's a great idea to cut Medicaid and nutrition and health care so you can give tax breaks to billionaires.
The destruction of our rights and democracy is directly tied to the growing and extreme wealth inequality that has been building for years in America.
Across the country, voters are saying they need leaders who stand up for them, not for the billionaires. And more and more, it seems like lots of leaders across the country.
So following weeks of public outcry, the Trump administration has finally backed down from a change that would have made accessing Social Security benefits harder. Last month, as you recall, the Social Security Administration proposed a plan backed by Elon Musk and his little Doge operatives that would have barred most claims to be made over the phone, instead requiring applicants to visit agency offices to prove they are who they say they are. That would have meant a 45-mile trip for roughly 6 million seniors nationwide, and potentially a month-long wait for an appointment. But fortunately, after weeks of complaints, the agency actually listened and reversed course. Imagine that. The voice of the people can change things.
Yes, the people have the power. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but the people have the power. Jeffries, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, during the district work week, while your elected officials are back in town, folks, he has announced a number of days of action. So on Save Social Security Day, Tuesday, April 15th, Medicaid Matters Day of Action, Thursday, April 17th, Cost of Living Week of Action, Monday, April 21st. He wrote this letter to his Democratic colleagues. I think these things are happening because the people coming out and raising their voices around this and their Democratic elected officials supporting that, I think gives more just power to, frankly, the little bit of stopgap efforts that are happening to save people's Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare.
I just want to talk about the E in DOGE, which is efficiency. It's supposed to be about making government efficient. You know what is not efficient? Making a senior citizen get in a car to drive to an office in order to apply for their Social Security. You know what's not efficient? Slashing resources so that when people are calling, which is how most people conduct their business with the Social Security office, they now have to wait in a longer hold time. None of that is efficient. None of that is making this operate better, which, as we've talked about many times, has never been their goal. Their goal is not to make government more efficient. Their goal is actually to do quite the opposite, to make government so inefficient that you no longer believe in the power of government, that you no longer believe that government can possibly...
You see Trump being absolutely flustered and shut down by massive protests of him and events that are being held to challenge him and the rule of his billionaire buddies over American society. We see it with the Bernie events and whatnot, right? The Bernie AOC combo events that have been among the biggest in like LA history, some of the biggest rallies you've ever seen outside of an election period. Some of the biggest rallies you've probably seen since like the civil rights era outside of the context of a presidential election. Remember, we're years away from another presidential election, right? Bernie's probably not going to run again. You know, unfortunately, he's too old, right? He probably won't run in 2028, right? The reality is, though, that he probably should have been president. The Democrats probably should have nominated him in 2016, let's be clear. Right now, Liz Warren, his vice president, would be taking over after 8 years of Bernie. Like, the point is, though, that fundamentally, Donald Trump is losing. The people are rejecting him. They're rejecting his cuts. They're rejecting his false mandate. Not that he didn't win the election, but that he's claiming he has a mandate to destroy American society, when really he had a mandate to lower prices and, yes, get a little tougher at the border, but not violate the Constitution. And he's gone way too far, way too fast, way too insanely, and the people are responding. Democrats, Republicans, Independents. I have never seen the world, and this includes non-Americans, so unified against one American president.